So, and bottom line is going back to like the experienced agents, the good ones are going to adapt and figure out a way to where this is not a detriment to buyers.
Yeah.
Get hot.
Okay. All right. Good morning, everybody. I'm really excited this morning to be sharing my mimosa with Billy here. He is with LVL Advisors. Well, and do you think that, this everything happening though also might, lack of a better term, weed out maybe the less experienced, the more, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like, I think that people are going to really take a second look at who they're using to represent them because of the legalities and everything going on, which may be a good thing too, because I think they're gonna have to be a little bit more picky. They're not gonna just sign anything, because now it's like, hey, the word's out that like there are a lot of things going on. And when you hear lawsuit and attorney and settlement, commissions, who's paying?
It'll make you think twice about, and I started somewhere, you started somewhere.
Right.
It's not to say, the inexperience shouldn't get business, you know, as long as they have the backing of a broker, a mentor, a team lead, right? So I am not saying don't use anybody that's new. Right. Because I've mentored new agents, but I'm reviewing contracts as a team lead and the broker. Like, just make sure there's that support. Yeah. But, we would have to have a whole new session on mastery and mastering your craft. Yeah. Because that's what you're trying to say. Right? Is there's a lot of agents out there, whether they're part-time or they just think, man, I want to get in the industry. I'm going to make a quick buck because I watched, whatever Selling Sunset, you know, and it's like, man, that just looks really easy. And I sell $1 million home. It's not. Yeah. And you got to master that craft.
Yes. And I think and you're right. I think what I would say too is you and I, again, we talked yesterday about all the extras that we do. All, let's go into classes, listening to attorneys, you walked in and I'm watching NBS Highway, to see what's going on with the market. Just having somebody that knows what they're doing, has education and a backing support of everything, because you can have a brand new agent that has followed up on everything. They educated themselves. So just make sure it's somebody that looks out for you.
Correct.
So
and it's okay if you ask your agent or your loan officer a question and they say, you know what, that's a good question. I'm gonna get back to you on that.
Yeah.
Because
I love when because then if they don't know, they are going to get the right answer. Yep. If they do know, they're going to answer it. I always tell people, I'm like, I don't care if I've been in this business for 15 years. If I come in there and I say I don't know, I had a question yesterday. So, I know we're not getting off topic of the settlement, but I had never in all these years, I had a veteran, she's a surviving spouse of a veteran. They've lived in this house for 30 years. He passed away years ago, so she has not had to pay property taxes because of his 100% disability. So her question was, and this is a great question, she said, if I go buy a new house, the disability was because of him, but I'm the surviving spouse, so can I still have those same exemptions? And I was like, that's a great question. I said, I've never been asked that. And so, again, I think that's what I love about the job too. I learn something new almost every day. Yeah. So, and sure enough, she could. But I would call the county and pull everything up and send it to her. And so she's like, okay, she was going to stay in that house because, property tax are real high right here.
Yeah.
So,
shocking.
So she's like, I would rather stay here. But anyway, to that point, it's just, if we don't know the answer, you're like me, we're going to go find the answer. We're going to do our research and we're going to have proof to be able to back up that answer.
Yeah. So. And, my team and I have done over 1,000 real estate transactions. Yeah. And yet we still will call each other and say, hey man, how'd you write this? How'd you have this conversation? I've had it 100 times before. Yeah. But when I ask it one more time, I might pick up on something new. Yeah. Right? It's like learning something new every day.
Yes. Because in every situation is not the same. Just got off with a client that was telling me his story, and he was like, asking me how he could qualify, and he was like, so do you think that all sounds good? I was like, we've only touched the surface here. I don't know. A lot more to go. But it is what makes it fun.
So let's put a bow tie on it. There's going to be a lot more that comes out on this settlement. We're nowhere near done. If I had to give a prediction, I don't think there's any way that we hit that July 14th timeline because
this is big.
It's massive.
Big.
It's massive. I mean, NAR is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, regulatory bodies.
Right.
So and again, it's the DOJ is able to say, nope, I don't like that. So we go back to the drawing board. Okay, what do you want to see adjusted? So it's and by no means am I an attorney, so I don't know law and the back and forth, but I don't foresee with the turmoil and the changes there's a lot of things they're not thinking through.
Right.
I don't foresee July 14th being hit. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But only time
So
will tell.
do you think it's safe to say, and I'm putting this out there, for right now, for buyers, I think that's, who are probably most worried, to say, hey, don't stress right now with the changes or what you're reading, because nothing, again, the settlements happen. There's a lot of things that could potentially change. And then also, again, I know we keep saying to wrap it up, but at the same time, taking the DOJ out of it, for these buyers, you can still negotiate commissions to where you're not gonna have to pay it. Because I don't want buyers to think there may not be a chance. There's a lot of things that, talking about when we ask for concessions, offering a little bit over list price. You also have a lot of sellers that are also buyers. A lot of your sellers that are selling a house are going to be going to buy a house. So for them, it's like, hey, if I were selling my house and all this was going on, I'd still say, hey, I'm going to still offer the same commission to the buyer's agent and my listing agent, because I'm also going to be a buyer. And it's kind of like everybody play nice.
Yeah.
Right?
It all comes full circle.
Right.
It does. But yeah, we can still negotiate. Sellers can still pay buyer agent commissions. It's just not going to be listed in the MLS. So agents are going to have to talk to their buyer about, hey, this is why you're seeing this success fee in your contract. Whereas, if you've worked with us before and we didn't do it in the past, now we've got to explain why.
Yeah.
And this is why we have it in here now.
Yeah.
Because we're going to negotiate it.
Do you think it's weird that I feel like it's all about transparency, with a lot of things, and yet having the commission post on the MLS of what they're paying a buyer's agent is being transparent, and now they're taking that away?
So the problem was it was only visible to the broker back page, right? On the MLS, right? So you've always been able to see it on Zillow, I believe. But that's the problem, is it wasn't always posted to the consumer.
Gotcha.
So the consumer didn't always know what their agent was making. They just knew that the seller was. And again, we could go on and on and on about this, but
I'm not going to ask any more questions.
one big thing about these lawsuits, and Sitzer Burnett is the biggest one, that had a ruling, in the fall, is buyer agents, and I was guilty of this in the past, and buyers.
This is actually really big for Billy to admit that he is guilty of something. So we are going we're going to just make a note of that.
Note taken. I was guilty of this at one point, of telling our buyers that, hey, we work for you for free. Mm-hmm. In all reality, it's so wrong.
Yeah, that's a really,
you're not writing my check as a buyer, but when we look at it, commissions affect the value of homes.
Yes.
Right? So you're paying the value of a home. Commissions are rolled in there, so in the grand scheme of things, when we were saying that, we were misleading the public.
Yeah.
So again, I recognized that years ago. I had an attorney kind of give me a slap, and I get it.
Yeah.
So that's part of the transparency.
Yeah.
If we were saying we work for them for free, and we don't.
Yeah.
They're just not writing a check.
Right. And that makes sense. I feel like there's probably a better way than everything that's going on right now to have some transparency with buyers. And we did. In fact, I was talking to one of my friend's moms, and she was like, in all these years of her buying homes, she was like, I truly just did not think as a buyer, I just knew I didn't pay. I knew I didn't pay. I just was like, buyers don't pay commissions.
Right.
And to your point, she's 65 years old, and she was like, it's always been the seller. So, and it very well still could be, it's just going back to transparency. Now it's going to be, hey buyer, this is what I'm making on that buyer's rep agreement, 2%, 3%, whatever that percent is, whether it's you paying or I'm negotiating that with the seller. So, which still can be negotiated, which could have been negotiated in the past too. Now it's just.
And it was where the agents that were transparent with their clients always told them this is customarily what we charge or what we make. It's always negotiable.
Yeah.
So, and bottom line is going back to like the experienced agents, the good ones are going to adapt and figure out a way to where this is not a detriment to buyers.
Yeah.
You're still going to be able to use your agent's buyer. Good ones are going to adapt. We're going to figure it out. It'll all be fine.
I compare it to lending. When rates went up after 2020 and 2021, we saw like, I don't know how, like half of the lenders get out of the business.
Yeah.
And we just said the strong will survive because they're going to be able to adapt and figure out like how you can still, how you can still help your buyers afford to buy a home in a higher interest rate market. And so I think it's going to be the same mentality with all of this as well. So I could talk, I almost asked you another question, but I missed that.
Okay.
So I guess I'll have to do this again.
You can ask away.